Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is shaping up to be the biggest release of 2024, and it's only a DLC. This is the power of Elden Ring and the sway and influence that this IP now has. FromSoft have pretty much leapfrogged from cult RPG classic with Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 to mainstream success and notoriety with Elden Ring. And through the few previews and interviews of the DLC that we have, it's shaping up to be massive. And there's one conspiracy theory that I want to get into today. I think this has been talked about. I can't remember if I thought of it or if someone else thought of it, but I just want to go over the idea that they might be pulling a Dark Souls 1 with Shadow of the Erdtree. And if they do, it could be really freaking sweet. And it may all boil down to Malenia, Blade of Miquella, Elden Ring's most infamous fight of all time. Radahn had the cool aspect, don't get me wrong, coming in like a meteor, the entire festival, it was atmospheric, it was crispy clean. But Malenia, oh, she was the wall. Heck, people got famous just because of their capability to take down Malenia. And they're even using Malenia as basically a litmus test for the difficulty of some of these fights in the DLC. That goes to show just how important of an actual encounter Malenia is, but when you look at the required fights for the DLC, it's only Radahn and Mohg. You may be asking yourself, well, okay, but what does that mean? How's their connection there? With the DLC focusing in on the character of Miquella, the characters of Miquella and Malenia are pretty much intertwined. They are family. Not a Fast and Furious reference, though it probably could be, and I would love to see that edit. But these characters are intertwined. Hell, you fight Malenia, where Miquella is supposed to be in the Erdtree before he's kidnapped by Mohg. She's always just staying there, waiting for her brother to return one day. Brother, cousin, I think it's brother. It's George R. R. Martin, let's be fair here. Could be either or, possibly both. They're brother-sister. But I think it's extremely interesting that the contents of the DLC only rely on the ideas that Radahn and Mohg are dead and defeated, not Malenia. This reminds me a lot of Dark Souls 1, where in the DLC that I haven't done yet, but I know pretty much the story, or at least most of it, you meet up with a character from the base game. Yeah, you meet up with Sif, the wolf. The guy you find out, the guy you find out in the woods. And here's a rather interesting mechanic. If you have not done the DLC, you'll get kind of a bog standard cutscene. In my replay of Dark Souls 1, I forgot this was a thing, so I just went right into his boss room before doing the DLC. However, if you do the DLC, you'll run into Sif, because the DLC takes place in the distant past. So if you do the amount of content needed in the DLC, and then you go to Sif the fight in the base game for the first time, a different cutscene will play, because Sif will recognize you. He'll sniff you out, he'll knock you to the ground and smell you, recognizing you, but realizing that his duty and yours on opposite ends of the spectrum. You two are fated to fight, even if it is regrettable. And it's a small change, right? But it's a bit of flavor. In essence, a reward for having done the DLC first, before going back to do the boss fight that was in the base game. There's nothing that shoves you or points you in that direction. It's just something you can naturally uncover depending upon how you play Dark Souls 1 or through word of mouth. I'm wondering if they're going to pull the same with Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, because we're going to deal with Miquella. We're essentially following in his footsteps in the land of Shadow. So, bear with me here. Here's what I want to do. You see, I'm not all that satisfied with my original playthrough of Elden Ring, because I was just in a mental state that was kind of running counter to what Elden Ring provided, and I think it compromised my enjoyment of the game, so I elected to use a bunch of magic and stuff like that to make an easier time of things. And I enjoyed that, don't get me wrong, but I'm coming back with a new playthrough of Elden Ring, now that I'm in a mindset more akin to these types of games. I was originally going to do everything, just essentially an entire new playthrough before the DLC comes out. However, now, I really want to see something. I want to beat like 95% of the game. I want to do everything but actually beat Malenia. I want to beat Mohg. I want to beat Radahn. I want to get to the tippy-toppest point of this before I have to fight Malenia. She's not required, but you know what I mean. Before point of no return, I want to get to Malenia and just leave her there. Don't even go in the boss room. Then when the DLC comes out, I want to do all of the DLC. Shout of the Erdtree. I want to do all of it. Every boss, all the optional ones. I want to do everything. And especially anything, any side content pertaining to Miquella. Do all of it. Then go back to the Malenia fight. Because how cool would it be if you stroll up to the Malenia fight and you bring something of Miquella's back from the DLC and she recognizes it? Of course, you two would still have to fight, or this interaction could take place after her fight, when she's just sitting in the chair. But the possibility is there. And FromSoft love it when we naturally discover things in the overworld. Heck, one of the pieces of things they talked about in lead up to the DLC was how there was still one, minor albeit, secret in the base game. And the community went into a frenzy, scouring the lands between in search of this hidden secret for it to only be uncovered. An item behind a hidden wall that kind of hints to the DLC that people just had not discovered. They love it. Absolutely adores what gets them out of bed, what makes them brush their teeth, yeah? Comb their hair a little bit. They love having the player base have these natural discoveries in the game. Heck, remember when Elden Ring first came out? I swear to God, half the hype for the game just came through all the people coming together on forums or TikTok or YouTube or whatever. Live streams ahoy! Scouring the land between, finding secret passages or walls or doors, oh my, new weapons, new builds, and just letting word of mouth spread. Because Elden Ring nails this sense of discovery and allows it to be player focused. It understands this concept and instead of trying to shun away from it, relies on it, leans into it. And if this is going to be the last we see of Elden Ring, well, I can imagine they're going to want to go out with a bang. And honestly, the story of Malenia and Miquella is one of my favorites in all of Elden Ring, and I really want to see more of it, and was going to get more from Miquella in the DLC from all the looks of it, but I would love to see something in regards to Malenia happen as well. Like, what happens, right? If you keep Malenia alive and you don't defeat her, what happens if she then shows up in the DLC for some reason? Like, somehow she gets word, don't ask me how this would happen, somehow she would get word that something's going on with Miquella in the Land of Shadows, she goes to Mohg's palace somehow and follows us in. Or maybe we can use her as a summon. Or maybe that's only triggerable or toggleable if you've already defeated her, so she knows about the Tarnished. Maybe that's the key. Maybe the secret is that you have to beat Malenia first, and while she's not required for the DLC, she's optional. Maybe that's the case, and I'm completely off the mark here. How cool would that be? And how cool is this? In the grand scheme of things, take a step back. How cool is this question? Would it be kind of disappointing if nothing happens? Sure, but the DLC is probably going to be great anyways. So I imagine by the time we beat it, no one's going to really care if it's not there. But if it's there, though, and there's a scene that triggers because you either already defeated her or you go back to her after the DLC and you haven't talked to her yet, maybe some new line of dialogue or some new cutscene, maybe something cool could happen. I think that would be really sick. I would love to see them to do something like that because they've done it before. If they hadn't done it before, then there wouldn't be precedent for this. But they have. And that's what makes it so interesting, so intriguing. There is precedent for this. They've shown a desire to do it before, and it worked so well in Dark Souls 1. Why wouldn't they do something similar for this DLC when seemingly all the pieces of the puzzle are falling into place? Also, I'm a bit on cloud 9 right now. Your boy may have just taken down the Crucible Knight. Dude, that guy's always been a pain in my side, even in my first playthrough, and your boy just kind of like gave him a little thing of 3, you know? Golden Halberd in the air, ahoy, slamming it down with all righteous fury and indignation. I'm feeling kind of good about myself in that regard, yeah? It's just the more I think about this DLC, the more excited I get about it, whether it's a story perspective or a gameplay perspective. So here's what I want you to do, because I find theory crafting fun. It's like solving a puzzle, but we don't have all the pieces yet, so you gotta fill in the blanks a little bit. It's important not to raise unrealistic expectations, which could compromise your actual enjoyment or experience with the game when it comes out, but a little bit of theory bit of crafting here and there, and not setting up those unrealistic expectations, I think that's fun. I enjoy that. So here's what I want you to do in the comments down below. Put down your wildest theory about what could happen in the DLC. What series of events do you think could transpire? Do you think an event like this could happen, but maybe for another boss, or something with Malenia? Do you have any more specifics you want to share? I'd love to hear your thoughts and to hear your theories. How are you preparing for the DLC of Elden Ring? Told you how I'm gonna prepare. And while I will be using primarily a strength build, I kinda want the Dark Moon Greatsword, cause look, it's cool, okay? It's a giant sword that shoots moonbeams. How is that not objectively awesome? And what build do you plan to take into the Land of Shadows? I'll probably go strength primarily with a little bit of intellect just for the Dark Moon Greatsword. We'll see though. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe. Have a great day. Go play some video games if you can. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.